There's something unsettling about the way we talk about being lost in life. We throw around words like misaligned, off track, behind schedule, like we're machines that need recalibration. But what if the problem isn't that you're broken or pointing in the wrong direction? What if you're just moving too fast to hear what your life is actually trying to tell you? We live in a world that worships speed, fast decisions, quick pivots, instant clarity. Everyone's racing towards some finish line they can't even see clearly. And when you can't keep up with that pace, when you feel scattered or confused about your direction, the world tells you you're misaligned, that you need to figure it out, get back on track, find your purpose like it's a lost set of keys. But here's what nobody wants to admit. The feeling of being lost isn't always about being in the wrong place. Sometimes it's about moving through the right place so quickly that you can't recognize it. It's about being so focused on the destination that you miss every sign along the way. Think about it. When was the last time you sat still long enough to actually feel what you want? Not what you think you should want, not what your 5-year plan says you should want, but what your gut is quietly whispering when no one else is listening. Most people can't answer that question because they haven't created the space for it. They're too busy optimizing, hustling, pivoting, chasing the next opportunity or the next level. And the irony is brutal. The faster you move, the more lost you feel. The more you try to force clarity, the foggier everything becomes. You're not misaligned. You're just moving at a speed that makes it impossible to feel your own rhythm. There's a strange epidemic happening right now. Millions of people feeling disconnected from their own lives, questioning every choice they've made, wondering if they're on the right path. They change jobs, move cities, start new relationships, hoping that the next external shift will finally make everything click. But the confusion follows them everywhere because the problem was never the location. The problem was the velocity. You can't find your direction while you're running full speed. You can't hear your intuition over the noise of constant motion. And you definitely can't feel aligned when you're treating your life like a race that never ends. But we've been conditioned to believe that slowing down is giving up, that pausing means you're lazy, uncommitted, or worse, falling behind. So we keep accelerating, keep pushing, keep forcing movement even when every part of us is screaming for rest. We mistake exhaustion for productivity and call it alignment. The truth is, most of what we call misalignment is just fatigue. Mental fatigue from making too many decisions too quickly. Emotional fatigue from constantly evaluating and reevaluating every aspect of our lives. Physical fatigue from a nervous system that never gets to rest because we're always preparing for the next move. When you're tired, everything feels wrong. When you're overwhelmed, nothing makes sense. When you're moving too fast, you lose the ability to distinguish between what's actually off and what's just blurry from speed. Have you ever driven down a highway at night, going too fast to read the signs clearly? You know you're on a road, you know you're moving, but you can't tell if you're going in the right direction. That's what happens when you live your life at maximum velocity. The signs are there, but you're going too fast to read them. And here's the thing that really gets me. We've turned this exhaustion into a virtue. We celebrate the grind, the hustle, the relentless forward motion. We wear our busyness like a badge of honor and wonder why we feel so empty inside. We've confused motion with progress and speed with success. But progress isn't always forward. Sometimes it's sideways, sometimes it's backward, and sometimes it's completely still. The most important movements in life often happen when you're not moving at all. When you're sitting with uncertainty, feeling into your choices, letting your nervous system catch up to your circumstances. Real alignment doesn't come from finding the perfect path. It comes from moving at a pace that allows you to feel each step. It comes from creating enough space between thoughts to actually hear what you're thinking. It comes from slowing down enough to notice what energizes you and what drains you, what feels expansive and what feels contractive. Most people think they need a complete life overhaul when what they really need is a speed adjustment. They think they need to quit their job, end their relationship, move across the country, when what they actually need is to stop running long enough to feel whether they're happy or just too busy to notice they're not. The modern world has convinced us that clarity comes from action, that you figure things out by doing more, trying more, experiencing more. But that's backwards. Clarity comes from stillness. It comes from creating enough quiet space that your inner voice can finally be heard over the chaos. You know what's wild? The people who seem most aligned, most centered, most at peace with their direction, they're not necessarily doing more than everyone else. They're just doing it at a sustainable pace. They've learned to move with intention instead of urgency. They've discovered that the right speed for their life might be completely different from what everyone else is doing. And that takes courage. It takes courage to slow down when everyone around you is speeding up. It takes courage to pause when the world is telling you to pivot. It takes courage to trust that taking time to feel your way forward is actually faster than rushing toward the wrong destination. Because here's what happens when you slow down. You start to notice things. You start to feel the difference between what you want and what you think you should want. You start to recognize the subtle signals your body sends when something is right or wrong for you. You start to hear the quiet voice that's been trying to guide you all along, but couldn't compete with the noise of constant motion. You begin to understand that alignment isn't a destination you arrive at through perfect planning and flawless execution. It's a way of moving through the world that honors both your ambitions and your limitations. It's a pace that allows you to be fully present to your life instead of just surviving it. The question isn't whether you're on the right path. The question is whether you're moving at a speed that allows you to actually experience the path you're on. Are you moving so fast that you're missing the very thing you're looking for? Are you so focused on getting somewhere that you're not actually here? Most people spend their entire lives feeling like they're behind, like they're missing something, like everyone else figured out some secret they don't know. But what if the secret is just learning to move at your own pace? What if the thing you're searching for can only be found when you stop searching long enough to notice it's already here? You're not misaligned. You're not broken. You're not behind schedule. You're just moving too fast to feel the alignment that's already trying to emerge. And the moment you give yourself permission to slow down, to breathe, to feel your way forward instead of thinking your way forward, everything starts to shift. The path doesn't change. Your speed does. And that makes all the difference. So what does it actually look like to slow down? Because I know what you're thinking. This sounds nice in theory, but you have bills to pay, deadlines to meet, people depending on you. You can't just stop everything and meditate on a mountain for 6 months. And you're right. This isn't about grinding your life to a halt. It's about finding a different rhythm within the life you already have. It starts with something so simple most people overlook it. Breathing space. Not the kind of breathing you do automatically to stay alive, but the kind that creates actual space between one moment and the next. When you feel that familiar panic rising, that sense that you need to make a decision right now, that's when you pause, just for 30 seconds, just long enough to feel your feet on the ground. Most of the pressure you feel to move fast isn't real. It's manufactured by a culture that profits from your urgency. That job application doesn't need to be submitted at midnight. That text doesn't need to be answered within 5 minutes. That life-changing decision doesn't need to be made this week. The world will not end if you take time to actually think about what you want. But here's where it gets interesting. When you start moving at a more sustainable pace, you discover something that changes everything. You realize that most of the things you thought were urgent were just loud, and most of the things that are actually important are quiet. They whisper instead of scream. They suggest instead of demand. They wait patiently for you to create the space to hear them. Your intuition doesn't operate on deadline pressure. It doesn't respond to force or urgency. It speaks in the gaps between thoughts, in the moments when you're not trying to figure everything out. It shows up when you're walking without your phone, when you're sitting in your car for an extra minute before going inside, when you're lying in bed just before sleep takes over. And this is why so many people feel lost. They've trained themselves to fill every gap, to eliminate every pause, to optimize every moment. They've created lives with no space for their own inner voice to emerge. Then they wonder why they feel disconnected from their purpose, why nothing feels quite right, why they're constantly searching for something they can't name. The thing is, you already know what you need to know. Deep down, beneath all the noise and confusion, you know what lights you up and what drains you. You know what feels expansive and what feels contractive. You know when you're moving toward something that serves you and when you're running away from something that scares you. But you can only access this knowing when you're moving slowly enough to feel it. Think about the last time you made a decision that felt truly right. Not logical, not strategic, not what everyone else thought you should do, but genuinely right for you. I'm willing to bet it didn't come from frantic analysis or pressure-filled deliberation. It probably came from a moment of quiet knowing, a sense of rightness that you felt in your body before you could explain it with your mind. That's what alignment actually feels like. Not the perfect life plan executed flawlessly, but the simple recognition of what's true for you right now. And you can't force that recognition. You can't think your way into it or hustle your way toward it. You can only create the conditions for it to emerge. This might mean saying no to opportunities that look good on paper but feel wrong in your gut. It might mean disappointing people who expect you to move at their pace. It might mean accepting that your timeline doesn't match anyone else's, and that's not just okay. It's necessary, because here's what nobody tells you about finding your direction in life. It's not about having a clear destination. It's about developing the sensitivity to feel when you're moving towards something that serves you and when you're moving away from it. It's about trusting that your body knows things your mind hasn't figured out yet. When you slow down enough to actually feel your life, you start to notice patterns. You notice that certain environments energize you while others drain you. You notice that some conversations light you up while others leave you empty. You notice that some activities make time disappear while others make every minute feel like an hour. These aren't random observations. They're data points about who you are and what you need. But you can only collect this data when you're moving slowly enough to pay attention. When you're constantly rushing from one thing to the next, you miss the subtle feedback your life is constantly giving you. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start honoring your natural pace, when you start making decisions from a place of inner knowing instead of external pressure, life starts to flow differently. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but with a sense of rightness that no amount of optimization can create. You stop feeling like you're swimming upstream. You stop feeling like you're forcing puzzle pieces that don't quite fit. You start to experience what it feels like to be supported by your choices instead of exhausted by them. So if you're feeling lost, if you're questioning everything, if you're wondering whether you're on the right path, try this. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop analyzing and strategizing and planning your way to clarity. Instead, slow down. Create space. Listen to what your life is trying to tell you. The answers you're looking for aren't hiding in some distant future you need to race toward. They're here in this moment, in the quiet space between thoughts, in the wisdom of your own experience. But you have to slow down enough to hear them. You're not misaligned. You're just moving too fast to feel the alignment that's already here, waiting for you to notice it. And the moment you give yourself permission to move at your own pace, everything changes. Not because you find some perfect path, but because you finally start walking the one you're already on with presence, with intention, with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're exactly where you need to be.